All right, how's it going? Welcome to the Know Your Gear podcast episode 300. 300? That can't be real. That can't be right. 300 episodes. At least on YouTube. There's more on the actual Spotify and all those platforms. But 300 episodes on YouTube. That's a lot. that's a lot. That's 600 plus hours of content, and some of you crazy people have consumed it all. And that's bless you for that, and thank you so much. That's crazy. And technically, I've watched them all too because I timestamped them all afterwards, so I've seen them all. So, all right. I laugh because it's the least favorite part of the week. It's my favorite part of the week as the show starts, and my least part of the week is the time stamping index stuff. I just said it all. Now I'm watching what I said. So, anyways, so 300 episodes. We'll do some cool stuff. We're gonna give away 3 Snark Air tuners. I know 3, right? We have 100. Snark sent us 100. Here's a box of 10. They sent us 100. I want to give away 3 today on the show live because 1, it'd be fun, and 2, why 3? Why not 10? Why not 50? Why not all 100? Because as I make all this noise, oh look, it came with a poster. This is kind of cool. Look at that. Look at that. Little Snark Air. This is a rechargeable tuner with the new design, as you can see, where it doesn't have that arm that some of you guys don't love. I like the arm, but I understand sometimes people say they drop it and it breaks. But they gave us 100 of these to give away. We're going to give away all of them at some point. We're giving away 3 today because I think shipping 3 is enough for the wife. We had a family emergency this week, and Monday, we started Monday morning with, we have to go because we have a family member who had something horrible happen and had to go to the hospital, and we had to get to New Mexico. So we went to New Mexico right away. We just left. And we were there until last night. We got back in town late last night. And it worked out. They went in surgery. They're out of surgery and they're fine and things are good. However, stressful week, traumatic week, tough week, tiring week. And the last thing I want to do to her is make her track down and ship 10 people's things. So we'll do 3 for 300. And then, like I said, we'll do more every week. We'll do a lot. We'll do them on other things. So, that'll be fun. Like I said, we'll keep it fun. Something to note, that's a good timing because it ties into the other thing. We talk about this all the time, the scam artists that are on YouTube. They're always like, hit me up on WhatsApp or text me or all that stuff. I have filtering on my channel. It catches 99% of that stuff, to the point where the only thing they can even put anymore is like weird stuff like, yeah, this. Or a bunch of emojis. So be aware, if it looks really weird, it's weird. But I will tell you this. First of all, we do all our giveaways. Well, obviously not today because we're doing some on the show, but we do the majority of our giveaways on Instagram just because that's where we prefer to do it. But I'm going to show you this so you guys know this going forward. So I told you guys we'll be doing this for a little while. Let's go to it. Let me share this with you. We have a web page now. It is knowyourgearpodcast.com, www.knowyourgearpodcast.com. You can see, look, the current issue. You can click on this right now and see the show you're watching. You can see last week's show. You can see where to see it on iTunes and Spotify and other locations. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. You can find out if you want to become a sponsor of the show because it's sponsored by patrons and members. It's sponsored by you. But more importantly, there's a contact us page. 2 things I should let you know. 1, this is the official contact page. 2, I don't see these. So just letting you guys know, if you send this to somebody, this is going to be seen by other people than me, but they are the right people. So what I'm saying is, if you get something weird like that, or today if you win one of these Snark tuners, you're not going to wait for me to contact you. You'll just go here to the contact page right here, and it's right there on the top of the thing. I don't know why I can't. There it is, contact page right there. And you just click it, see, like I did, and you can contact here. or if you go to the home screen, there is tons of look, submit questions and stuff. So, I mean, this is all the ways to contact us. This goes right to us. So basically, I don't contact you through YouTube. A couple things you should know that are very important because I'm pretty strict about it. I do little to no comments or responses to comments in my videos. So I don't respond very often. So first of all, if you see a response from me, you should already be concerned because I don't respond very often. Secondly, I never respond to negative comments and I never respond to anything that's not directly something I'm just kind of like, okay, I'll respond to that. I respond mostly, and I mean very little because I don't respond very much. I respond mostly to positive questions. In other words, questions that are maybe I'm like, okay, they're a little confused about something, maybe I can clarify. Or sometimes the comment's positive and I just want to be like, thanks, I appreciate that, right? So I think the other thing I will tell you is I don't see comments that are, and I've said this before, that aren't you're not subscribers. There's a filter on YouTube and it just says subscribers, and I see only the subscriber comments. The reason is because it's very rarely, as silly as it is, that somebody who subscribes puts anything that, crappy stuff that I don't want to see. So I'm not saying that. Sometimes some people will subscribe and put a bad comment, but usually what I'm seeing is people who support what I do, and they generally have more constructive criticism than just that's overpriced or I hate America or, guitars are for Satan or whatever the crazy things that I see all the time is. So that's how I filter. I'm just letting you guys know that's how I filter. That's what I see. There you go. So that's how you know. So when you win today, if you win one of these tuners, I'm going to just say, go to the Know Your Gear, www.knowyourgearpodcast.com, and click the contact us or the ask icons, and that will go through, and my wife will see it. She will make sure you get your prize. Look at that. So, Carl D says, "Is that a 7-string behind you?" What? Yeah, it is actually. It's got to be this one, right? Yeah, this is a JP15 Music Man. I own 3 7-strings. When I bought the JP15. I interviewed John Petrucci, like that's a name drop thing, right? I'm like, oh, I did that. But I mean, it was just an interview for the channel. And long story short, got inspired to buy a Music Man John Petrucci guitar. And then what I did was I sold my Music Man Sabre and some other guitars. I was going to sell my Ibanez 7-string right here. This is also the other 7-string you might be talking about. And I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I'm into it for $350. I really like it. It's OG, right? It's like one of the first 7 strings. So I just kept it. And currently I own 3 7-strings. The third one, I can't tell you what it is. It's coming soon. I just got one. I don't know why. I don't even know how to explain it to myself. So it's a fun times. Okay, so what else? I don't know. Oh, yeah, I have so much stuff. There's so much stuff, so many topics, so many things. By the way, some of you guys messaged me this week that some of the audio podcasts are not up. I know, unfortunately, we had to drop everything and go because, like I said, we had a family emergency. So I had no access to that stuff. So I was able to post a video this week because I have videos that I can just finish editing and stuff. So I finished editing the Tremolo Buddy and put that up. And then unfortunately, the other video, you're going to get another video this week. The audio was just a little clipped out, and I couldn't fix it with the in my laptop where we were sitting in the hospital and stuff. So I just said no. But that will get fixed this weekend, the audio podcast. So there's my announcements. I thank you guys so much for letting me announce things. What else? Let's get into questions, right? Stuff, gear, music, probably all those things. Let's just go. Okay, so the first question we got today was from Pumpkinhead Guitar Spiritual something philosophy. Spiritualism? I don't know. Spiritualism. Spiritualism. I like spiritualism. There you go. Spiritualism and philosophy. I'm going to change the font on this. All right. Do PRS CEs. Now he's talking about the CE, which is the bolt-on. I actually have one right here. It's a semi-hollow CE, but that's a CE, which is made in USA, Maryland. He says, do PRS CEs have a real maple cap or a veneer? I read conflicting opinions here. It's not an opinion, it's a fact, if it is or isn't. But I understand what you're saying. There's people out there on the internet saying stuff. Happy 300! Been listening for almost the beginning. I appreciate that. Now, they have a real maple flamed cap or whatever. If it's a quilted cap, it's real. It is not a veneer on the CE PRS 24s. Now, I'm only going to talk about current guitars. This is the one I have. I've seen them build these guitars. I know how they build them because I was there watching the process. And so these all have real caps. The old CEs, which were, before they did a 22 and a 24, some of those had, some of them didn't have tops. They were just all mahogany. Some of them had tops, maple caps. I don't remember a single one being a veneer. I have never seen Paul Reed Smith USA do a veneer other than on a headstock. My PRS Custom 24, right here, which was made by Nathan for me as a gift, which is a work of art, has a veneer on the headstock that was put on there for me. And whoops, let me hang that back. And they will do that on the private stocks. You don't see that too often on the USA stuff, but I think some of the guitars do have a veneer on the headstock. Only veneers I've ever seen PRS do are on the headstocks for the US factory. I would say that's the rule. There could be an exception. There could be something out there where they did a one or a limited run or custom something, but as a production series, they are all going to have real maple caps. Veneers are pretty much isolated to just the SE, not the CE. So there you go. Okay. All right. Next question, comment, what have you, came from Todd. Todd says, hey, I'm going to buy a Friedman Little Sister combo, and he doesn't know if he needs to get the head and cabinet or the combo. He says because it saves $400 if he goes combo. Since there's no reverb, is there any benefit to buying separates instead of combo? The only benefit to the head versus combo, there's going to be two benefits that I can tell you, that I can think of. One, it's less real estate because it's just a small head platform. So obviously if you want a lot of amps, you can stack them up because you have, more room to go vertical. Combos are a little harder to stack up for the most part. That's a space saving thing. It's also sometimes easier considered to transport two things, that are a little lighter than one heavier thing, but it's about the same for me. The other benefit that's really important for the head is you can choose your cabinet. So for instance, with Friedman, you would get 5 major cabinets to choose from. You could go with a 412. I know you're not saying that because I think you're saying you're going to do the 112, but just hear me out. 412 Friedman cabinet, 212 horizontal cabinet, 212 vertical cabinet, and then if you go to 112 cabinet, you have two choices of design. You have a closed back, or ported, I should say. It's a ported, so it's a small closed back nano 112 with back porting, and then you have an open back cabinet. That's what I use. I have two Friedman open back cabinets, 112s. I have two identical ones, and those are the ones I preferred. I had the smaller ported one. It's nice, but I like the open back feel. So that's the advantage. You could do that. Now, if you're going to buy the open back cabinet like I have, and the head, you pretty much have the combo. The open back cabinet is pretty much the same as the combo. So if you do what I did, which is the head and the open back 112, there's no advantage to you whatsoever. In my world, the only advantage to me is I can stack them. Because there's a lot of amps visiting all the time. I think my house is like people who foster dogs. I'm not making this up. Like I have dogs, and then, some people have dogs and then they foster dogs. That's what my house is like for gear. Like I have gear, and then there's gear here visiting for reviews and whatnot. And so, I have to have room for all this stuff because, so that's why I have that stuff. So that's your advantage, if any. that you have the ability to move your cabinets around and do stuff. Like I said, I like both Friedman cabs. In fact, I like Friedman cabs. I own almost all of the Friedman cabs. I don't have his 412. And I'm just not into, I don't want a 412 right now. So I just got rid of my Marshall 412. So I'm 412-less for the first time in forever. I love all their cabinets. And I bought them all, so So it's not like they sent me any cabinets or anything like that. I bought every single cabinet from Sweetwater, except for one. I bought them all from Sweetwater, except for one, but I bought them all new. And I think I got 10% off some of them, for asking. So, Crucy something form says, head doesn't rattle the tubes like the combo. It can. If the head's on top of the cabinet, it'll rattle. You can isolate it, so you could pull the cabinet, the head off. However, so that's nice. I mean, it's a nice feature. The reason I sound a little apprehensive is because not everybody's gigging with their stuff. So it's weird. It's a weird thing that when the amps rattle. When you're gigging, actually back up. When you're gigging and stuff rattle a little bit, you tend to not care because you're on stage and it's just, there's so much atmospheric noise that you don't hear it. When you're playing at home, you're usually playing quiet so it doesn't vibrate as much stuff in most cases. So really the only time stuff rattles for the most part is when you're playing kind of a little loud and you're by yourself. And that's not very often. So yeah, I can see your point. There is a point that the head would, you can lift it off the cabinet and it won't rattle. But if it's sitting on the cabinet, it'll rattle just like the combo. Let's see. You guys really like the foster dog comments. Okay. Speaking of which, let me tell you a funny story about amps and heads. So as you guys may know, if you follow the channel, you know that a couple months ago, I decided I needed a Super Sonic 22 back in my life for the channel. I thought this would be the ultimate head. So, I kind of came up with this idea. I was like, I wanted 4 amplifiers for videos. Okay. And this became like this idea in my head, like, okay, I just want to keep life simple for me. And what I would do is I would have the Yamaha THR 32 dose V2, which is about a $500 amp. I like it. Use that anytime I'm reviewing a $600 guitar and below, or $500 guitar and below. In other words, line up the amp with the guitar when you're reviewing it. So we're reviewing the guitar, like, hey, here's a $500 guitar, a $300 guitar. I'm running through a $500 amp. That seems to make sense. It doesn't make sense to run the $300 guitar through the $4,000 amp. Then for the bulk of the guitars, like, the $800, maybe the $1,500 guitars, things like that, I like the Bad Cat Black Cat. It's universally great for me. So that amp, although expensive, it seems to make sense. Wait, I'm doing this wrong. See, I'm already jumping ahead. So let's say $1,500 to $2,000 guitars, we put them through the Bad Cat. Then that's where I messed up. The guitars that are, let's say $500 to $1,100, right, for review, I want to run them through a Fender Super Sonic because it's about a $1,000 amp, $1,200 depending on where you find it. And again, just line up the amps so that when I'm doing the review, the guitars and the amps seem to be somewhat aligned in price points so that it makes sense. So I bought 2 Super Sonic 22s from Sweetwater. Bought one, it was defective. The button didn't work, so the channels couldn't switch. They sent me a replacement, and the replacement didn't sound right, so I sent them back. I bought a used one. Here it is. Look at that right there. There it is, sitting there in the corner. So I bought a used one. I'm very excited. I got it for $1,000, I think, shipped, and so a little bit, so that's with tax and shipping and everything. And this one's jacked up too. See, I'm laughing. This one, though, I'm keeping. But what sucks about it is when you turn the volume to 0 on either the gain or the clean channel, you still get a little bit of the guitar volume coming through. It's like it never shuts completely off. That could be a tube issue. I haven't checked it. I haven't had time. It could be a defective thing in the amp. I have no idea. All I know is at this point, the amp sounds fine. It's working. None of that will affect making a video. But man, can Fender not do anything right anymore? That's how I feel. I know I feels harsh when I talk like that, but I just keep giving Fender my money and they keep disappointing me. And I don't know what that is. I feel like it was bad luck for a while. And now it just kind of feels like just depressingness. You know, the stuff has gotten so crazy expensive, so crazy expensive. And the quality seems to have dropped, and it's just not nice. But I have it. Yeah, somebody says bad pot, but here's the problem. There's 2 different volumes. It's on both channels. Both the clean channel and the dirty channel have separate volumes, and they're both having a problem. They both won't go to 0. So, so there you go. I'll like I said, I've decided at this point, like I said, with all the headaches and all the hell, I just couldn't. Obviously, the problem is the guy was very cool. The guy sold to me on Reverb. He was original owner. He just had bought it 4 months ago. Has all the paperwork, everything with it. Was even close. Think about this. He was in Phoenix. It went from Phoenix to Mesa, where I am. So not very far. I know some of you guys aren't from the area, but 40 minutes away. And the issue, I think the problem is he probably didn't notice it because, you know, who turns off their amp to 0 and then still strums their guitar through it? So I just happened to know because I was a little sensitive because when I got it, I wanted to go through it because I've just seen so many bad ones that when I did that, it still had that issue. And I was like, and so, you know, I never noticed. Maybe they all do it. So if somebody has one and yours is doing it too, maybe I never noticed that they did them before. And now I'm just sensitive because I got so many defective amps. And especially at this amp now, it's like $1,400 is the retail on that amp. You know, $1,000 used. It's a lot of money. So David says, get a Fender Bassman reissue and review it. I have a Fender Bassman. I can review it. It'd be like, plug it in. It's loud and clean. And then it's loud, really loud and distorted. It's a great amp. I can tell you though, I have a Bassman amp I'm about to review that's just amazing. The problem is, it's as crazy expensive as the 59 Bassman has gotten. This is even more so. Yeah. So some of you guys, I'm just reading some of the stuff you guys are going back and forth. Well, let's see. All right, so I feel good. I feel like I needed to get that Fender part off my chest. All right. I'm at the point now where I'm only buying used Fender stuff, and the problem I made with that amp was I didn't go far enough back. Like, it wasn't old enough. I think I'm just trying to find anything pre-pandemic for Fender and just order that. And that's my new policy for myself going forward. So that Yngwie Malmsteen Strat I bought was perfect. It was a 2007. It was flawless. It was better than probably a brand new one. So there you go. Okay. All right. More questions, more stuff, more subjects. What we got? We have, oh, okay. Andy B says, hey, Phil, what adhesive or method do you use to keep the ferrules from falling out during a string change? For example, like a hardtail Strat. So obviously some of you guys know, like, there's ferrules. Here's a Kiesel. It's got ferrules, whatever you want to call them. These things right here. These are where the strings go in the back. Sometimes we've all experienced this. You take the strings out to restring it and they fall right out, right to the ground. Isn't that just the coolest finish ever? That crackle, pink and purple crackle. Some people tell me all the time, they go, that's a leopard print. I'm like, it's crackle finish, but it's okay. So the ferrules, how do I stop them from falling out? My preferred method is plumber's tape, like Teflon tape. I'll wrap, it usually takes none. Just wrap a piece around there, put it in there. You can use a dot of super glue or even a dot of wood glue. Wood glue is a little tough because it will fill the gap, but sometimes it gets slick and the ferrule will just fall out anyways. The reason I don't like to, don't epoxy them. Please don't use any crazy adhesives. And when I say super glue, I mean like a dot. You put a dot on the side, of the ferrule and then put it in there just to kind of hold it in place. But I like compression by using like some kind of like Teflon tape. Works really, really good. Anything like that will be a better, because sometimes they fall out because your guitar dries out, right? I mean, remember, your guitar is still wood, so it's a sponge. So when it dries out, sometimes those holes, they kind of they don't shrink, they do the opposite. They kind of pull away and then the furrows fall out on the floor. So just use something like some Teflon tape's cheap, it's easy, it won't hurt anything, and it's thin enough to, because sometimes the problem is that some of you guys are going to go like, I use like electrical tape, whatever, but in my experience, the reason why I use the Teflon tape is so thin, because usually the gap is so small that even that stuff is, and that's what I like about it. It's really thin and it works, and if it doesn't, it will smush up and it won't work, and then that time I just put a dot of super glue, because we're talking about a very small gap at this point. So yeah, I'm not all well done with vintage. Like, yeah, I don't put it with 2-part epoxy. I wouldn't recommend it. So I don't like epoxy around guitars if I can help it. Okay. Next one. Next question. Next subject. I'm like the butcher shop. Next, number order 33. Here it is. Okay, we have Mr. Mont says, hey, new guitar day. I got a 2015 S2 Standard 22 for a good price, but the pickups are a tad muddy. That's a big complaint with the PRS S2 pickups. Probably the biggest common thing I hear about them is that they're kind of muddy, or sometimes referred to as dark, or they're not very articulate. That's usually what they're absent of highs, which really in pickups, that's kind of the thing, how pickups kind of work for the most part. It's like really an absence of something, right? You know, things that get taken away. So the highs get taken away. He's like, so for a good price, he basically got the guitar for a good price. He thinks the pickups are a little tad muddy. I hear that all the time. Sometimes I like it. Sometimes I don't like that. So I have S2s where I like the pickups that are stock in it. Sometimes I have S2s that I don't, depending on the guitar and how it's all mixed together. You know what I mean? Sometimes all the tone, all the tone gods sing and it works out, and sometimes it's not. He's like, looking for a warm, jazzy, but articulate clean sound. So in other words, he likes the warmth, but not the muddiness. I get that. He's thinking about getting a 5815 S or LT. Those will work. I mean, they're great pickups, obviously. I mean, obviously, 5708s would also be pretty articulate. The 5909s would also work really, really well. I like those as well. If we're sticking to PRS pickups, those are all good ones. I like S2s. I like the Pete Thorne pickups with S2s because, again, they tend to be a little dark sounding guitars, and the Pete Thorne's pickups are really bright and really clean sounding. So those are really nice for those tones. I like the, I've said this before, I like the bare knuckle mules. Those are great pickups for that guitar. I'd also like the DiMarzio PAF pickups, where you go 36th anniversary, or even Seymour Duncan 59s. So, or maybe even a jazz in the neck and a well, I like the JB Jazz set. It's if you want something more aggressive in the bridge, or a dual set of 59s. All those would be really good options, and I think you do well with them. Tom says, almost had a new guitar day, but it's new work truck day. I've been there. I've been there. I just had that happen to me a few months ago. I was about to pull the trigger on a really nice guitar, and instead I have a new Mac, because my other Mac I just had worn it out. So it's time for a new computer. He says, okay, so he was thinking about getting the Ibanez JS24 MCP. So that's his Joe Satriani 24 fret model. And he's like, soon it will be in his hands. He says he loves the show. He watches every week. I appreciate that. That's a great guitar. I love the Joe Satriani guitars so much. It's my favorite neck Ibanez does. That and the Jim neck. I wish Ibanez would take those two necks, which the JS, the Joe Satriani neck, is a Fender C carve. It's basically going to feel. A lot of people, if you've never played a lot of Ibanez's, sometimes the JS, the Joe Satriani guitar, doesn't get on your radar because you're used to their wizard necks and their thin, shreddy stuff. That neck is modeled after a Fender Strat. Joe Satriani did not want a traditional Ibanez guitar. He wanted a Strat. He was playing Strats. So they used that body because he said it felt most like a Strat and it was comfortable. And then he liked that neck carve, and I like it too. And I also like the gem neck because it's the same thing. It's a little thicker and it's nice. Those are my two favorite Ibanez necks. I wish they'd put them on more things. It would make it so much easier to buy more Ibanez guitars for me. Hold on, I lost something. I'm also looking to see what you guys are saying to see. Okay. Hold on. TYB439. That sounds like a Star Wars thing. T4BY39. Why is your intercom off? Anyways, TYB439 says, what's that yellow PRS over your shoulder? That is a Paul Reed Smith CE24 semi-hollow that I bought from Wildwood Guitars. So I cleared out some Paul Reed Smith guitars, including my Silver Sky and stuff, and that's what I got. So I like it. Bolt-on neck, super light. I love it. It looks beautiful. Video coming soon. So, all right. I'm having trouble here as I have so many screens up that I'm losing track of where stuff is, but I need all the screens up, and you'll see why in a second because I'm going to show you guys some stuff. Okay, let me refresh. And okay, JP Del Mundo says, hey Phil, I just got a Gibson Captain Kirk Douglas SG. That is a beautiful guitar with the Vibrola system. So it's that tremolo system, that's a vibrato system that is horrible. The guitar is great. That system was always not my favorite. I don't want to call it horrible. That seems mean, doesn't it? Just not my favorite. Assuming everything else is taken care of, what kind of bridge should I get to ensure the maximum tuning stability? Love the channel. Do you still love it after I just called your guitar's bridge horrible? I hope so. Let me go here and share with you. This is what we're talking about. As you can see here, this is the Captain Kirk Douglas Signature SG. He is a super talented guitar player. If you don't know, he was in the Roots. He was on Late Night with Jimmy Fallon, and I mean, he's just amazing player. So this is the guitar, and this is the bridge we're talking about, this little bendy thing here. And this is the bridge. Can I make that zoom in on that? Can I do that? Do you get to do that? Do you get a close-up? I guess that's the close-up. This is the bridge that he's talking about. Oh, look, I can make it a little bigger. And here's what I would recommend for this bridge. There are a couple options. You can pull it off and replace it with a roller bridge. You can replace these saddles, these 6 saddles right here, with Graphtec saddles. You can get those from Graphtec, and you can get them in white. If you don't like the way the black ones look, you can get the white ones. They're self-lubricating, and they'll work. What I would recommend before you do that is this right here. I kind of preach this thing a lot. Now, there's other brands. Music Nomad makes a product like this. A ton of companies do. We could go through, hey, if I go back out of this, I'm sure it's right here. Yeah, these are all the lubricant type things that you can get. That's up to you guys. You know, I'm not recommending those things. Here's what I'm recommending. I recommend only this one product. And I lost it. That's what I get for hopping out of it. How weird is that? You can see Big Ben's Nut Sauce has the same type of product, but it's $14. So one of the reasons I like this one is because it's $10. There it is, $10.99. And if you buy it from Sweetwater, if you use the link, I put a link. If you use the link, I get like $1 million per click. So hopefully now that I've said that verbally, Sweetwater has to adhere to that contract that I just made verbally with them. But anyways, it's $11 and there's no shipping. They're free shipping. I like it because you buy it, it has this syringe. It's all about the syringe. It's the lubrication stuff. This is stuff that's, I mean, I forget what it's called, but I mean, you can buy this stuff anywhere. I like this product right here, this syringe. Once you buy the syringe, you just keep using it. You can just buy this stuff. I'll find out what it is and tell you guys later. But it also has these two swabs, applicator swabs, and a nice little carrying tube. See this? Put it all together as a kit. This thing right here, this $11 thing that will probably make 50 of you put comments right now about how you won't spend $10 because that's ridiculous, will last you 10 years. I'm not kidding. I'm not exaggerating. If you do not do repair for a living, if you have 50 guitars, I don't care how many guitars you have, if you are just a regular player, even if you're gigging, it takes you years and years and years. They give you this stuff. There's a reason why they don't even give you a full tube of this stuff. Right? You use this little applicator and you put just a little swab on there, and that's it. So what you would do, buddy, is you would go here and you would use that syringe and you would move the string over and put a dab on each one of these saddles on the slots that are cut, and then use the applicator like a little mini Q-tip and kind of work it in there. And then put the strings, slide them back over. You don't have to take them off. Just, put them back on in the grooves and tune it up. Now, why? Here's why. If you do that, you may not have any tuning issues. You also use it on the nut of the guitar. It's great, right? Remember, tuning stability is about the absence of friction. We don't want friction. Friction is where things get messed up. They don't go back the way they were. So we want, sorry, I'm jumping around screens and losing my train of thought. We don't want friction. So using a product like this is going to do, it's going to be amazing. $10, right? And the other thing that's great is if you have a tuning issue and you buy a syringe of this stuff and you use it and it improves the tuning situation in any way, then before you do buy the purchase, because those saddles aren't super expensive from GrafTech, but they do take time to take apart. You have to take apart this bridge and put it all together. It's going to be an hour, 2 hours of your time just disassembling, put this stuff, and then of course making sure all your intonation's right. So stuff like this is a fast fix for all kinds of situations. A lot of you guys like to say, well, you can use pencil graphite. You absolutely can. You absolutely can. However, there's a reason why I don't use that all the time. The main reason I don't use it is because it makes your hands look dirty. And sometimes when I'm playing and somebody wants to shake your hand and you got this dirty ass hand and you stick it out, they just kind of look at you like, so I like this because, like I said, it's clean, it's easy. And if you break down the $10 over the time it's going to last, I don't even know what that comes out to. Like I said, it's a couple bucks a year, maybe. It will take you forever. So I'm just letting you guys know, it's not a huge purchase. I swear by the stuff. I use it all the time. One of my favorite things in the shop was people would come in and have some tuning issues. And sometimes I'd look at it and I go, and they go, I need a full setup. And I'd look at the problem and I'd move the string over, shoot that tube right in there, swab it in, put it in there, tune it up. They'd play it and they go, oh, it's fixed. And I go, just go. It was like, it was great for that stuff. So, the Rockin' Donkey says new strings make your hands dirty. Yes, but I use a string cleaner and I clean them. I don't it's a thing. My hands are dirty all the time from working on guitars. They're dirty in videos and stuff. So, if I can, whenever I can have my hands be clean, it's like, I don't know if you can appreciate this. I don't get, like I said, when I was in the Army, your hands were in engines, you're dirty. So you get back and you clean up, right? If you've ever worked where your hands get dirty, for those of you that know what I'm talking about, having your hands clean is like a special time. Maybe not everybody thinks like this, but I like I said, if you do stuff where your hands are dirty from work, when you clean your hands, it's kind of like the symbol of, for me, it's always been the symbol of my day is over. Now it's time. Like now I look like a normal person again. And I mean that I'm talking about myself. I'm not calling anybody out. That's just how I feel that way. So like I said, anytime I can just keep my hands clean, it's kind of a nice treat. So it's like I said, I like both. I like having my hands dirty, but I also, like I said, having your hands clean is a treat. So, but like I said, I also like that stuff. So he says Palmolive. Palmolive. What is the soap I use? Orange something, right? It's like takes the grease off. But anyway, that's what I recommend for that guitar. That'll hopefully If you guys can hear music right now, the ice cream man is driving by. I'm not making that up. I wish I was, but I'm not. Okay, and then I got another question. This was emailed in. Okay, so like I said, if you guys go to the Know Your Gear, www.knowyourgearpodcast.com, you can submit questions here. Now, this doesn't guarantee that your question will be on the show. What it will guarantee, however, is that it's in an archive of questions, and I pull from them, and I'll have them, right? So yeah, sadly enough, what does that mean? It means that you can send me a question, I never answer it. Could mean you send me a question and a year from now, episode whatever 350, I answer it. However, like I said, it's a nice resource for me. I appreciate you guys doing this for me. It's for me, so we have this as a community. But I got a great question. The question was, they wanted me to talk about why we tune up to pitch. Okay, so so sometimes when they were talking about tuning stabilities, this is a nice tie-in to the lubrication thing we just talked about. Why do you tune up? Some of you guys don't know this, most of you do, that when you tune a guitar, you always tune up. So for instance, if you're tuning to E and you go E, well, let's not use E because that won't work. Right, it does, but let's say you're tuning to E or C and you go C sharp, right? You're starting to go sharp, right? Obviously, you go a little sharp on E technically with the tuner, but you go to C and you go to C sharp and you got to tune back down. The incorrect way to do it is to tune back down to C. You would actually want to tune back down to B and then tune up to C. You always tune up to pitch. Now, there's probably a lot of reasons for that, but I'm going to tell you only from the tech side of things, okay? The tech side of things is the reason is because when the string is going through the slot in a nut and it's going up and you're tightening the string and it's going forward, when you tune down, sometimes it will catch, okay, because your slots are not perfectly smooth or you're not using any kind of lubricant and it catches a little bit. And the tuner will say, oh, you're in tune because it hit the pitch. And then you go to play, and as soon as you put any pressure or tension on that string, then it goes flat because it jumps. It actually falls backwards. So when you're tuning up, because the way you come across the nut, you tend to not catch very easily, not comparatively, not when tuning down, because you're pulling tension instead of releasing tension. I hope this all makes sense. So that ties into his question, could we talk about why we tune up to pitch? That's why we tune up to pitch. So lubricate your nut, tune up to pitch. 12-year-olds have all the jokes you want with that. So let's see. Hold on a second. Hold on. I had a question, another one pinned up. I'm grabbing it right now. Here it is. Good time to drink some vodka and find the question. I'm kidding, by the way. Okay, Al says, hey, new gear day. I'm excited today. Not only did I get a PRS S2 studio guitar, but I got a PAL 800 pedal. Oh, wow. That's a really cool pedal. And just 15 minutes ago. Congratulations. I know it's exciting. New guitar, and especially for the weekend. You just got it for the guitar. I got a guitar. I have new guitar day, but I'm not sharing yet. I got it, and then, of course, we had to go out of town. So I haven't really had time to experiment with it, but very exciting. That's a great pedal, great guitar. You're set for the weekend. Grumpy Guitar Mike says, and why not? Here's to another 300. I don't know. We have to do another 300 episodes. I was going to call it at 300. It's going to be... Okay, so you know that sounds like I was kidding. I wasn't. I always wondered where we should kill the show. You're right. I'm like, kind of like the Garth Brooks move. All right, I'm retired. I'm out. Bye. And I always, seriously, for a while, I would say 300 episodes. I always felt like, like 300, like the movie 300, like 300, that'll be the last episode. And then as we got closer, I think when we got to the 280s, it might have been the 290s, but I think the 280s, that's when I started the discussion with everyone, like, hey, should we cancel? Should we call it 300 episodes? And I'll be like, I don't have to do live shows anymore. We won't do this. We'll do something else. And, that was a discussion. And really what happened was the show has been growing so strong, especially the last year. The last 12 months has been the strongest it's ever grown. So then we're like, well, it doesn't seem right to do it. I mean, really, that's the best time to retire. You know, right? Call it when you're out, but no. So 300 episodes. So maybe the retirement is 500 episodes. I don't know. We'll see. I keep thinking, I have no idea. I say that, but I have no idea. I didn't think we'd make it to 300. I thought by 300 episodes, there'd be like 4 of us sitting here on a Friday going, what do you want to talk about? We talked about everything already. All the guitar things are talked about. Jim says, hey, if you could purchase an LPD pedal, which would you buy? Well, I've just bought an LP. So let me tell you the one I bought, and then I won't cop out with that one. I'll give you another one. I just bought the 87. So I did a review of the 87 Deluxe, and that's a great pedal. And what I found was I wasn't using the features of the 87 Deluxe. So I had this big footprint on my pedal board, and I have a very small pedal board. In fact, it's in front of me right now, and just to let you know, 2, 4, 6, 6 pedals is what I keep on it. That's about right for me. I have about 6 pedals. So I just thought it's taking up more room than I need. So I sold that LPD 87 Deluxe and got the 87, which is the same pedal. It just doesn't have, it doesn't let me switch between the two stages of the 87, like the higher gain and the lower gain. So that's the one I just bought. So obviously that would be the one I bought. I still have my 68, which I absolutely love. If I was going to buy an LPD pedal, which one would I buy? Which one would I get? Like, what would I get next? I don't know. I think maybe maybe the new compressor. He's got a new compressor EQ thing. That seems weird. I might do that. I'm into weird stuff like that. But like I said, so I wanted to find something at least outside of what I just did. But like I said, the 87, I really like the 87. It's a very unique sounding pedal. It doesn't sound like the other high gain pedals. And I tend to use a lot of high gain pedals because I own 1 or 2 high gain amps, but for some reason, they always seem to be unplugged. Like they don't seem to be in any kind of rotation for me. And then I need to play something with higher gain. And so I'm like, oh, I gotta get the amp. I just have the pedal board, so I step on it. So I like having a couple high gain pedals to pull from. And the 3 that I use the most frequently for high gain, I use the 5150 because it's obviously sounds like a 5150 amp, and it's got a noise gate, which is super awesome feature. I like the Friedman BE OD pedal. I still like it. I bought it when it first came out. I still have it to this day. And then I use the 87. But I use the 87 the most. In fact, the 87 is on the pedal board. Those others usually aren't on the pedal boards. The 5150 MXR is the one I grab all the time. I'll grab it and use it for something. But physically, the 87 is always ready to go. Like I always have that. That's my high gain sound. Because I think it sounds, to me, like I said, it's weird. The 5150, I really like the noise gate feature and the high gainness of it because it's really fun to play because it's like playing through like a box of bees. It's just a lot of gain. But the 87 sounds most amp-like. It's the most that when I hear it, I think like, oh yeah, this is more like an, it feels more like an amp. It sounds more like an amp to me. Sun, I'm just going to call you Sun with an U. It's Sun with a U. It says, hey Phil, love the show. What do you make of the difference in quality between equivalent left-handed and right-handed guitars? What do I make of the quality difference? Well, I don't know. This was something, I'm not very aware of that. What I can tell you is as a company that I can say that I really appreciate them and their love of left-handed players, to me, there is no second. There's no second. Yeah, no one comes close to Schecter guitars. Schecter guitars, to me, has always had the absolute best left-handed policy. They put out probably the most models. Now, granted, some of you guys, especially left-handed players, are going to be like, no, it's this brand too. But Schecter is the one that sticks in my head. They have tons of left-handed options for their guitars. They have tons of left-handed colors that you can choose from. And they don't tend to degrade or change the left-handed version very much that I've seen. So, I mean, I could say Fender makes left-handed stuff, but I mean, they don't make left-handed versions of everything, right? They just selective left-handed versions where I think if you're a fan of Schecter guitars and you're a lefty, I don't feel like you feel left out. I know this is a dad joke. I went there, but that's how I feel. I feel like you don't feel like you missed the party. You know, some other brands, they got some lefties, and lefties get so abused with how they get treated in this industry that they feel like if you even offer a lefty, they're just like, you love us. So, but I really think like, from what I've seen, Schecter would be the company. But as the differences in quality control between them, I couldn't tell you. I can tell you it's really hard when you're right-handed and working on left-handed guitars. So this is actually a funny story because we had a policy forever and everybody thought I was crazy. Even Nathan, so you guys all know Nathan, he even looked at me funny. I used to have a policy, a rule. I shouldn't say a policy, a rule. I had a rule, okay? It was uncompromisable. If you had to work on a left-handed guitar, so if you're restringing a left-handed guitar, or if you're doing a setup, whatever you're doing for left-handed guitar in the shop, the rule was we took a piece of painter's tape and we stuck it on your left hand. And you were not allowed to take it off your left hand until the guitar was done. Sounds stupid. But do you know how many times right-handed people that work on left-handed guitars do make mistakes because their brain just is so used to a process, like they restrung it the wrong way. They did something else, right? So you put a piece of tape, a painter's tape on your left hand because every time you looked at your left hand, you saw that painter's tape, you know, you're like, okay, I'm still working on left-handed guitar. Just keep going. And so that was the policy because it's hard to do that. Other than that, I will tell you this, because I've obviously repaired and worked on a lot of left-handed guitars. There isn't really a whole lot of difference when you're working on them. Crowning frets is the same. Rounding fret ends is the same. I'm looking at guitars right now. I'm just kind of going through this stuff. Electronics are about the same. Everything's really the same. There's not a whole lot of stuff you have to worry about. Obviously, your bridge is reversed for the intonation purposes. You know, that's about it. So when you're asking about quality control, you know, I mean, they could rush them and then they might have a lower quality on average. But like I said, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that left-handed guitars are built worse or have less quality than right-handed guitars as an average. It's nothing in all my years stands out as like, oh yeah, left-handed guitars are always garbage. No, they seem fine. You know what I mean? They don't see anything that's weird about that. Voodoo Fist says, hey Phil, happy 300th episode. Any cool new products coming out this year that you're excited about? You know, I don't know. You know, a lot of talk about the NAMM show. A lot of talk about, you know, what's coming out. I'm trying to think what I mean, fortunately, as I always tell you guys, you know, the stuff that they send me that's coming out, I can't talk about because that's how they gag you. They gag order you with a don't talk about it until it comes out. Some new pickups coming out that are cool. I got that coming out soon that I'm excited about. There's a guitar that just can't see. What am I even talking about this? Because I can't tell you anything. There's a guitar that's coming out and it's downstairs. I haven't even opened the box yet. So I just found out about this week and it's here. So products that I think are cool coming out. No, not that I know of. I mean, I haven't heard any rumors or anything. Anyone else? I'm looking at the comments. Anyone else see anything, hear anything cool? So, while I'm looking at that, Susan wants to know if I'm going to NAMM. You know, I had decided I wasn't going to NAMM. NAMM just seems so antiquated to me. However, I have some other stuff going on, so I'll probably be at NAMM for a day. So that seems to be the plan. We'll see how that goes. I will probably do what I've done for many years, which is I still make that decision last minute. Like probably up until a day or two before the show, I'll be probably going, okay, am I really going? Or am I going to, you know. So, all right. Matt says, what about the new Music Nomad Fret Care line coming soon? All I saw was the teaser. That's all I saw. So I don't know anything about that. So, Gina says Chapman British guitars coming soon. Are they coming soon? I saw the announcement today. I think what I saw today, this morning, Guitar World announced there's a new mid-tier of Chapman guitars, right? Let's go to Guitar World. And yeah, Chapman adds new guitars to, I'll share with you guys. Chapman adds new guitars to its high-spec mid-price Pro series, including baritone and 7-string options. It's got some, just in time for Easter, all the Easter colors. Look at that, pink and peach. Love the colors. I actually like this flip-flop the most. Really cool. I kind of like this, the telly shot style, but with the flip-flop. So, oh, okay. So it says, oh, cancel, because I don't know what they want. So this is the high-spec mid-price Pro series. This is UK-based brand. Oh, okay. These aren't UK guitars. It's just a base brand. So, so that's all I know about that. So, hold on. Let's see. Sean says he's talking about Chapman. Are his guitars more popular in Europe? I've never met anyone who owns one. I know a lot of people who own them, guitars. They're not obviously the mid-tier price guitars and the lower price Chapman guitars are not very well. They're not super expensive, not unobtainable. So there are something a lot of people bought. I actually tried to I bought the Ghost. That's the one I reviewed, but I bought that for review. I bought it, to do a video and see how it goes. And then I really wanted the semi-hollow one, the telly style semi-hollow one. And the Guitar Centers, I think I did. It was on a podcast. We talked about it, of course, one day. The Guitar Center in Scottsdale, Arizona had them. I drove all the way to Scottsdale, Arizona to, try out the Chapman guitars, and they had them locked up. And I don't know why. I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know. Maybe I have some kind of, some issue or something, but I just couldn't ask an employee to unlock a $500 guitar. It just didn't make sense to me. I was like, I'm not, it just seemed like, I think it's just my personality that if I was to bother someone to get the guitar out, go get the key, because it's a process. If you ever had them unlock stuff, they go get the key and then they come back and they unlock it. And then you got to find them, because you can't just hang it back on. You got to go find them. I kind of find like I would buy it even if I didn't like it, because that's kind of like I put them out. I got to buy it now. And so sometimes I don't want that pressure. So let's see. Okay. Hold on a second. I'm just looking for. Let's see. Sorry, guys. I'm just reading stuff. Just reading. I was looking to see if there was any more on those, expand on those subjects. So let's just go to the next subject. The next one is going to be from who? Who's going to be from? While I refresh and look. Sometimes, because of the screens I'm in, I don't see all the stuff you're saying. We see El Scorcho. El Scorcho says, do you think it is inevitable that Fender, G&L, etc. will have to leave California due to the regulatory tax burden and state instills on that the state instills on businesses? Okay, so let's talk about this in a non-political way. And the reason is because I don't want to talk about that. It's not a political channel. I was just making jokes about this. Tell my wife that I'm like, I don't like talking politics, and on the period, and then on the channel even less, because I don't know, I'd start a political channel if I cared about that. This is a guitar channel, but this is a guitar question, and it's a fair question. So, and this is why, like I said, there is a plan, without a doubt, there is a plan as the Badlands guitar company project goes, and I call it project because it's more than just a company. It's more than that. It's more of a let's share the experience with everybody. Not just the guitars and all that stuff. Like, give you the industry insights. One of the things that's made this channel do well is sharing what I've learned about the industry as a store, as a repair guy, as a YouTuber, as right. I mean, I'm sharing the things that happen. This is the insights that I did. It doesn't mean that they're, that I'm right. It's not a right wrong thing. It's a more of a, experience thing, sharing the experience. So we're going to share a lot of the experience with you guys. What are the mistakes we made? What are the things we did right? Why did we do these things, right? Especially a lot of it will make sense as it goes, because I think a lot of people are going to have like I think the nicest way I could say it is some people are going to probably feel like they got reverse trolled. Like if they knew what the long game of this was, they would probably, anybody who was like being harsh critics, which is good. I like harsh critics, but anyone who's been a little jerky, probably going to feel a little silly later because we kind of really thought this out in a long way. Why am I bringing up all that for this? What I can tell you is that was the first question. The question you have is the first question I had. Why are we building these guitars in California? This seems like the worst idea ever. I'm not kidding. That's the very first thing. In fact, that's the first thing I said to the partners. And that's the first thing I said to the shop, right? We went into the shop and we're like going there. Why are we here? This is the worst place to build guitars. And what I learned was there's a lot of reasons why you have to be there. First of all, it's access to materials and like woods and wood suppliers. When you're building high-end guitars, one of the things that happens is you need high-end materials. I mean, it's important. It's important when you're doing things in a very expensive way that your customers receive product that is reflective of the price they just paid. $2,500 is a lot of scratch, man. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. And you want not only to feel like, yeah, the quality is good, they put it together, but you want to know the materials were quality, right? It's just like anything else. So what we found was it's really accessible to get really good quality materials in California because here is the way it works. And a lot of you, I'm sure, work in some kind of job, right? You guys have jobs. So you understand that it's a resource thing. If you, like, for instance, where I live in Phoenix, Arizona has has one of the biggest resources of call centers in the United States. There's a ton of call centers here. And the reason is because the time zone is perfect, right? We can call the East Coast, right? And then when the East Coast shuts down, we switch over and start calling the West Coast, right? So if you have a call center, you have people calling in, right? Whether you have customer service questions or if they're calling out for like collection purposes or to sell you crap, right? Whatever, there's a lot of call centers here. And because there's a lot of call centers here, there's a lot of skilled labor for call centers. So when you go to build a call center, one of the things you think about is that, yeah, the time zone's great. However, now you got to think about the fact that because there's so many call centers, when you want to pay someone to do this job, there is a huge resource of people to do that job, right? It's kind of like if you want fishermen, don't go to Arizona. There's no boats, right? There's no fishermen. So I'm talking about for like the ocean. So the point is the same thing as what I learned about building guitars in California. One of the things is because California is such a huge economy and because of where it is and its resources, it's a lot easier to get your hands on quality materials like wood versus other states. This is what we learned. So, I just I'm not regurgitating what somebody told me. I did the research too. I was like, trust me, if I can, I don't want to say prove somebody wrong, but if I can find a better way to do something, I want to do it. Right. Our mission for those guitars was to get them as inexpensive as we physically could. That was like a mission. That was mission's a strong enough word. It was like all we everly were consumed by was how do we get the price down? And if we could figure out any angles to help get the price down, we would take that angle. And I thought the smartest thing we could do is get the hell out of California, right? I was like, hey, let's get this labor cost down. But again, resources, I told you guys last week, and again, we're trying not to talk about all the Badlands all the time, but this isn't about the guitar company. This is about the industry. We hired somebody, or they hired somebody. The shop had to hire somebody because we sold so many damn guitars. So think about that. Anywhere else, it gets a little tricky because if you have to hire someone to work on guitars, it's a lot easier to hire someone from another shop. We pull from like Sir guitars, we pull from Fender. We can pull from other facilities. It's a lot easier to go because there's resources there. Just like I told you with the analogy with call centers. When you have a lot of guitar companies in California, now it's a lot easier to go to somebody and say, hey, I'll pay you a little more if you leave your company. That's resources. So yes, all the things I agree with you. the taxes, the hells of California, the cost of living. I get all of that, okay? But I learned from this endeavor that there's other things in play, and one of them is resources of employees. G&L is a perfect example. G&L, they have these industries, they have turnover. You have to understand, like, the guitar industry is riddled with a serious problem, which is it's a passion business. So it brings people who are passionate. People go and they say, hey, I'm going to build guitars for a living. This is going to be great. And they get a job at, Gibson or Fender. Okay. And I'm just picking them because they're two biggest. For some people, it is the start of a journey that is going to be the rest of their life. For some people, 3 months in, they realize I just work in a factory. Like, this is me every day doing this thing over and over again. I just do frets all day. Is it different than making toasters all day? Not really. I mean, again, I'm not taking anything away from it. Like I said, I'm a repair guy, so it's like the same repair over and over again, right? I'm really fast at it because I do it all over and over again. However, fixing someone's frets is not as exciting as it was 20 years ago. Now it's just like, okay, I got to do it, and I just do it, right? But I have a passion for it, so I stick with it. However, like I said, it has a higher turnover rate. I've told you this before, most factories, most shops start most employees in the buffing department. They buff all day or they sand all day. 8 hours of that, holding a guitar against a buffing wheel, trying not to let it launch into the wall, which will happen, by the way. I've never met anyone who's ever worked in this industry who buffed a guitar doesn't have when they launched an expensive guitar into the wall story. Because you just let go of it and it launches off. So this is what they do for hours and hours and hours. And like I said, you saw Jack Higginbotham. He's the COO of Paul Reed Smith. He runs PRS SE. He started at PRS buffing guitars in 1984, 85. That's common in this industry. Master builders starting off as buffers. So again, resources. So although I agree with you on all the merits you said about the Fender, or about California having those particular issues that are maybe not great for businesses, there are other things they have to factor in, and those are the factors in. So now there still might be a better place, but then you have the cost of moving. So that becomes the secondary problem, right? Which is, okay, let's say you can find a resource of employees and wood supplies and a good wood supplier and all that stuff somewhere else. Which obviously there's builders all over the country that have good wood suppliers. But like I said, all of those resources combined, then you have to add moving and then moving expenses. But Brian says, can you spray nitro in California? You cannot. Not that I know of. Well, I think you can. I think you have to have a special booth and you get a special, things. Let's start here, Brian. Just getting to paint guitars is a problem everywhere, even in Arizona. Okay. It's getting it approved is hard. In California, it's even exponentially hard. So think about this. We talk about nitro because it's a bigger problem than polyurethane and other finishes, but it's just hard to get a spray booth approved in the state of California. So that's why it's, think about this. This is like, and again, like I said, as we go, we'll talk. We'll eventually do videos about this. Like I said, about the Badlands experience. Badlands experience of the company, building the company, and doing the thing with the company. But things I can kind of just leak to you now is one of the things that's interesting is it's a big tell if you haven't figured out that when we have all those pictures of the Badlands guitars being worked on, they're being pictured in spray booths. They're being pictured places. If we didn't have a legal spray booth, we wouldn't have those pictures out. That tells you a lot right there what kind of shop is doing the guitars, because they obviously, and I'm not kidding. You know how many times I hear this in this industry when I'm doing stuff with small builders and they're like, yeah, don't take a picture of that because it's not legal. And can't have that out. So, right, can't have a picture of that. I don't want. They don't want the the state or the city to find out they're doing something they're not supposed to. So it's an expensive thing just to have a paint booth. So we have a paint booth. So there you go. So that's the answer to your question. I hope it was insightful to some degree. But yes, the tax burdens, all that stuff, it sucks. All that stuff sucks. Ray says, what's my thoughts on the Horsemeat pedal? I reviewed that pedal. My thoughts are, it sounds like a clone. No, I did the review. I kind of did a first impressions review of the pedal, checked it out, did all 3 of the PRS pedals. I think, like I said, I think for an offering from PRS, it sounded pretty good. I think it sounded good in the video. My favorite was the compressor, I think. And then, no, I think actually, I take it back. That was Tim Pierce's favorite. He was talking to me and he kind of convinced me a little bit. My favorite was the flanger because it was really nice. It had really cool sounds. But to me, the Horsemeat pedal, the only thing about that stuff, the only thing for me is I'm not a huge pedal guy, as you know. In fact, I just realized, I realized the other day, I didn't even do a pedal video in January. And I tell you guys all the time, my goal is to do 1 pedal video a month, and I can't even seem to freaking do that sometimes. I have a pedal video coming soon of a small builder, and so that's exciting. That'll be coming. But I mean, I just don't, like I said, because no companies reach out to me for pedal videos. It's like I probably get 2-3 a year. And so because they don't reach out, I don't really actively reach out to companies. First of all, like I've said, I don't really talk to companies. I have someone, fortunately, who will do that for me. So 90% of the companies that interact with this channel interact with another person who that's what they do. Talk to them about that, because it's so much consumption of time. It was killing how many videos I was making a year. I was spending all the time on the phone and Zoom calls with companies trying to figure out to get a piece of gear on the channel. And I was like, you know what, just let somebody else do that. But that being said, because we don't actually actively go out and ask for companies, I haven't physically gone and called a company to get a piece of gear on in over a year. And I rarely did it before that, but I mean, I haven't done it at all. So I haven't been actively reaching out to companies for pedal companies, and no pedal companies reach out to me. One, like I said, one small builder, and I told him he had to make a donation. He'd made a donation to Children's Hospital, and that video is coming soon. Because that's sometimes what I do with the small builders. I just tell them to make donations to charities so that, I feel like that way it's fair. It's a fair compensation trade, right? So again, as the Horsemeat pedal go, I thought it was cool. I liked it. I prefer the tumness. So, I've said that before. I prefer the tumness. It's like what did Paul say? Paul said the Horsemeat eats clones for breakfast, which still doesn't make sense to me, because in that analogy, the clone would be the Horsemeat. So the PRS pedal would be the Horsemeat eater. That's what it should be called. So the Horsemeat pedal should be called the Horsemeat eater, because it eats horse meat. It is not horse meat. But in this analogy I'm about to give, it's going to make more sense. I think the tumness is a Horsemeat eater, because it would eat the Horsemeat pedal for breakfast. I'm just being a little tongue-in-cheek sarcastic. But to answer your question, I like the Horsemeat. I like the tumness better. That's probably what I should have said, not gone on that whole rant. Ryan says, new guitar day. I got a Gretsch 5622 LH. That's left-handed. Any tips for replacing the pots in the center block? Yeah. Watch a video. It's not hard. It's just a pain in the ass to pull electronics out of hollow bodies. You do it with, there's a ton of ways I've done it. I've done it with everything from zip ties to string. And I've tried different ways. And what I found is different guitars are just different. In other words, like an ES, like a ES335 is a little differently awkward to get everything in and out of the F hole than, like, let's say a full hollow body Gretsch that's like a 3-inch body versus, the 2-inch or 1.5 inch. So different, but you pull all the guts out. My first comment to you would be, unless you're having problems with electronics, I don't know if I would change them. I mean, the pots and stuff. If you're doing it for like a quality of tone, I would change the pickups before I would change the pots. Just, so, I don't know. I hope that helps. Okay. Let's see. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just looking for any. Sorry, hold on. Okay, I found it. I have. Oh, hold on. I'm reading different messages from different places to see what the next subject's going to be. Okay, I'll just go with Eddie. Eddie says, "Hey Phil, I pre-ordered a PRS McCarty SE. Okay, the 594. Normally I change pickups on the guitars that level. However, it seems to sound great as it is. Any thoughts?" I actually liked it. I thought they sounded really, really good. I don't know if I would run to change them anytime soon. I would definitely, Eddie, my advice to you would be to just to pick a time, like a week, 2 weeks, right? 2 weeks is good. 2 weeks. For 2 weeks, don't change anything on the guitar. Play it stock. That's my recommendation for every guitar, no matter what the price point. Even if you're buying a Glary or Harley Benton, whatever it is, just you get the guitar. First of all, the whole know your gear thing, this philosophy, it's like I said, it's just as simple as that. You know, play the stuff you have. Not learn its specs. I don't care less about that. I have to communicate specifications and stuff because it's a video and I'm trying to verbally or visually communicate things that are hard to communicate if you're not in the room with me. But for the most part, the whole concept of this has always been, look, I know there's like, let's say, you like the Pete Thorne pickups. You can put Thornbuckers in a guitar and it's going to sound good. I understand that. But what we're saying is, why not play the thing you have? Learn what you like and don't like about it. Learn to adapt to the things don't. And part of the thing is sometimes if your first instinct is you don't like something, get rid of it. That's fine. But understand that a lot of time there's happy accidents, sort of like Bob Ross, right? Little happy trees, little happy accidents. Sometimes the thing you don't like all of a sudden becomes the thing you love and you can't live without. And you want to spend that time with it. And I don't think it's time like days, although I'm telling you 2 weeks. It's really hours on the guitar, right? But in 2 weeks, you should have some time to play the guitar a few times and start understanding the things you do and do not like about the guitar. And the reason I give that advice, so all the reasons I give these kind of little tidbits is because watching it happen so many times, it's what taught me. Watching a customer come to me and say, I got this guitar today, and they open up the box and they like pull it out. And this is all the gear I ordered and shove this in this guitar. And we would do it. And then they would get the guitar and they go, I'm just not loving the way it sounds. And I'm like, yeah, well, see, here's the thing. That's part of the reason why you probably want to spend some time with it first. I learned that. A lot of people reversing things back out, including myself, many times over. You know how many times I was like, I really like the guitar. My Mira is a good example. I have a PRS Mira core, and I've replaced this pickups or changed the pickups 3 times. And since I've had it since 2013. The original pickups are in it every time. Every time I thought, there's just something about the pickups that aren't 100% exactly where I want them. And I swap them and I put different pickups in and I go, okay, these are too bright and they're a little too thin now. Pull them out. These are too, it's the Goldilocks thing. It's just never, and the pickups, although they're flawed, in my opinion, they're not exactly the tone I'm looking for in the guitar. It's really close to the point where I'm like, okay, nothing else was getting me any closer in any other direction. So, like I said, spend some time with it, especially that guitar. I really seriously was impressed with the last 2 PRSs, that DGT and the 594. I think those were, and rightly so. I mean, I'm not trying to come off like, well, they gave it's a miracle here. They're $1,000 Indonesian guitar. They are, in my mind, $1,000 Indonesian guitar is the equivalent. I mean, you have to ask yourself a question. We know that they go to Indonesia to save money. That's why they go to Cortec. We know they make some choices to save money, to cut costs. So the question is, they're cutting costs. Cutting costs doesn't matter if it's not as good as the thing that's more expensive, right? So you understand what I'm saying? It's like, if I have a guitar that's $2,000 and I make an import version of it, it's $1,000. The goal should have been from the get-go to make the import, the $1,000 guitar, as good as the $2,000 guitar. The whole point of importing and doing all this stuff is to not only cut costs, but also to give you some quality that rivals higher price quality. So to me, those PRS, in my opinion, just what it's worth, my opinion of those two guitars, reviewing them in deep dive format and spending some time with the 594 and the DGT, was I felt they were on par for the most part. I mean, it can't be 100% perfect, but I'm going to say 90%. I think that's a good call with the S2 line. So, like I said, I might have said it on the live show. I might have said it in the video, and I might not have said it at all because sometimes, you know, I think things and they don't get out. My first thought with going through those two guitars was this was the end of the S2 line. I have heard nothing that's confirmed that. I have no industry rumors, and I don't think they're planning to kill the S2 line at all, considering it just had a 10-year anniversary this year. But those two guitars, I do not really quite understand the place of the S2 line. I mean, as you know, I even said in those videos, I still prefer the S2 line. I don't know why. I think I don't know, just something about them, but it's really, 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 really good. And to the point where maybe they're the same, you know, at that level. So, let's see. Neil says, hey, Phil, how similar are 5960s reissue necks to a Les Paul traditional neck? So you're talking about the Les Paul traditional neck, in my opinion, is going to be closer to the 60s era neck. So some of them, depending on the years. So same thing whether you're talking about Gibson Standard, Gibson Classic, Gibson Traditional, like the Trad Pros and the Traditionals. Those three guitars throughout the years have different necks. There's just, like I said, I have a 2007 is what I have, Classic, and it has a C-shaped neck that is shaped like a 59 Les Paul neck, but is the thickness of a 60s neck. It doesn't have the flat part of it. There's a Gibson Les Paul over here, you can't see out of the screen, that's also a Classic that has the 60s neck that's traditional to what you guys would expect the 60s neck to feel like if you've picked one up recently. But the traditionals, to me, they tend to always remind me more so of the 60s neck. I don't see a whole lot of ones with a chunkier 59 neck. That style. But that's why we measure the 1st and the 12th fret, to give you a rough idea of what you expect when you do it. So, okay. What else do we have? Anything else? Do you guys want to talk about the weather? Okay. Sorry, I'm refreshing. This is called stalling. I'm stalling while I'm refreshing. And I'm looking at because I'm also looking at the email questions, so you guys know. Okay. Okay. All right, this one's an email question. Tony says, hey, I was talking about this with a buddy. Can there be an import price guitar, $199 or $250, made in the USA? If so, do you think it would be on the same quality level as imports in that price range? So I think, okay, I'm going to make sure. He says, P.S. There was nobody. I just had a debate with myself in the shower. You know, he says also he drives an 18. I'm just telling you everything he says. I drive an 18-wheeler all day and listen to the Know Your podcast. It really helps the day go by. Oh, man, it's awesome. And also thank you for what you do. You know, truck drivers, they don't get enough credit, man. That's a hard gig. And again, I just want to say this because I think it's with respect, it needs to be said. You know, they don't get paid what they used to get paid. They don't make what they used to make, and they work harder, I think, in my opinion, than they've ever worked ever. And I just want to say thank you. Like, kind of like how, you know, people say thank you for your service when they say, you know, for being in the military. Sometimes there's a lot of other jobs that need a thank you for your service too. And truck driver, especially during the pandemic, man, you saved our ass. Thanks. I just want to say, Tony, thank you for what you do. It's a hard job, and I appreciate it. And I'm happy I don't have to change those tires anymore, because I used to have to change big truck tires, and it's a lot of fun when you're young, and probably wouldn't be fun now. What So the question is, can they make an import price guitar? In other words, an import price guitar, $250. Can you make it in the USA? Can you make a USA guitar for $250? Here's what I can tell you what I think, okay, based on everything I think I know, okay, and experiences. I think the cheapest you can physically make a guitar in the US is $500. Realistically, can it be done? Can you make a guitar in the USA for how cheap can you make it? $500. So, and again, this isn't just me reviewing, and I always tell you guys like how many factories I've been to and what I've learned. And obviously, I work in this industry in a lot of different avenues, but obviously, there was questions, like some of the questions again with the Badland project was, okay, cool, we're gonna make this custom limited edition, things. What about a production guitar, and what can we get that to, and what's the cheapest we can get it to, and what's the most we can get it to, and what's all these things, and a lot of investigating, a lot of work. And no, Brian says, so that means you'd sell it for $1,000. No, I mean, you could physically make it and sell it for $500. You could do it. It could be done. Because I mean, think about this. Realistically, it could be done. The problem is, here's the problem. I haven't got to the second part that sucks. Would it be as good as the import version for the same price? No. The whole appeal would be it's made in USA. This has been done many times by many companies, and it works. How many times have you seen Gibson? How many times you've seen Fender? How many times you've seen, PV back in the day? I mean, PV used to do it, right? They used to make affordable made in USA guitars. Comparatively speaking, right? They would make guitars in the USA for the same price as import guitars. The problem with that is to do it, one of the things you're going to do is you're going to make satin finishes, right? You're going to basically make a stripped down guitar. And I think what they learned as an industry when it comes to making affordable USA guitars. Okay. I mean, think about Carvin. They were kind of masters of this. How cheap can you make this thing? Strip it down, make an ash body. So no grain filler in the body, right? So you make it ash. You can make it natural finished, right? Do a neck, same thing, tongue oil, no paint booth, right? So we're talking about we're talking about right now, there's 1,100 of you guys. We're talking right now about starting a new company called affordable America affordable guitars, or whatever you want to call it, right? And I'm telling you what you would have to run down in your head to get this price down. You would literally go no paint shop, no paint booth, so no OSHA on that, no permits on that. Tongue oil neck. We're gonna go some basic tuners. Now, of course, just because the guitar is made in USA, you're not gonna be able to get tuners. You're gonna do import. Brian says call it cheap ass guitars. Yeah, sure, right. Yeah, and ASS stands for American Standard Series. Cheap ass guitar. We have a brand already. Cheap ass American Standard Series, ASS, American Standard Series guitars. And like I said, we would do, at that point, you could, okay, $500. Could we make the pickups in the US? The cheapest, I think, you can physically buy an American, well, because you can get on an OEM account, in other words, buying direct from Seymour Duncan, I think that might be the least expensive. You could probably get them for $40 a whack. So that's $80 for the pickups. So building them in a smaller shop, I think the cheapest you could probably reasonably get a pickup made OEM. So you understand what I'm saying? So you guys don't get all cocky out there. I heard you can make a pickup in the US and buy it for $60. No one's going to want to wind you a pickup and sell it to you for $60 in the USA, but they would wind you 1,000 of them. You know what I mean? I mean, it's a volume game, right? Everybody's got to eat and make a living. So volume is where we're going to drive the price down, and all of a sudden makes sense to do stuff like this. I think I feel pretty confident it could be done at $500. There would be no margin. It would be direct to consumer, right? Because even, like I said, even the big guys, they have trouble with this, hitting that price point. There's no way. But I think it could be done. That being said, here's the big kicker. I don't believe you would get the volume, because the first thing that would happen is guitar players would immediately start comparing them to the import guitars, and the quality at $500 in import guitars is pretty freaking amazing. So And then the used market in $500. I mean, $500 is, I mean, think about this. Eggs are crazy. Inflation's off the chart. You know, everything's nuts, but you can still buy a great guitar for $500. I mean, it's a great guitar, used or new. You can find it. So I think the problem is the only selling point of that guitar would be that it's a cheap ass. It's an American Standard Series guitar. That's its appeal. And in my experience, that's the talk that doesn't walk. In other words, everybody's got a big mouth about how they love American-made guitars, but the wallet doesn't open just for that. It has to be more than that. You know, it's you know, there's a pride thing. Sure, we have American pride, right? Sure, there's a collectability factor. Of course, you know, people like to collect American guitars all around the world. They're collected in Japan, they're collected in Europe, they're collected in Brazil. I mean, they're collected everywhere. I mean, right? So I think the problem is that once you offer this guitar that's stripped down so low, it just wouldn't appeal to a whole lot of players. Now, somebody's going to say, I'd buy it, but what I'm saying is I don't think enough would buy it to get the volume. Because, and here's the other problem. Once you strip a guitar down like that, then you can't variate it very much, which means once you've tapped out who's going to buy these guitars, how are you going to sell the next run? You know, you know, what's the next model going to be? The same, because we already figured out we're at the absolute lowest, so we can't really change it too much. We can't. And like I said, we also have the problem with there's not a whole lot of USA parts on it. So I think that's your biggest problem. Then the next question is, okay, that's $500. What about $1,000? What can you make for $1,000? I mean, obviously, look, man, you could go right to Warmoth right now and build yourself a guitar for $1,000. Where's your Warmoth? It could be done. That's all USA made, man. Those are quality stuff. Warmoth makes as good a neck as anyone. Period. That's just it, right? If you can't afford a high-end USA made guitar, then you could conceivably go to Warmoth right now. Stop watching this. This isn't even worth it anymore. Go to warmoth.com right now. Go to and build out a neck. I mean, you can build out think about this. You can take an American Standard Strat style licensed neck. Licensed meaning, so you know, LIC Fender license, just to remind everybody, doesn't mean that Fender approved it. Doesn't mean it's built exactly like Fender. Doesn't mean anything Fender had anything to do with it. It means that a royalty payment, licensing, was paid to Fender to copy the headstock shape. It's a trademark license, not a design license, not a patent thing, not a approval thing. Fender's not approving anything. They're just, yeah, you're paying us and we allow you. Fender allows manufacturers in some cases, in some situations. In Warmoth's case, they can't build you a guitar. So Warmoth can't build a guitar with a Fender neck on it. That would be against the trademark licensing deal they would have with Fender. They can just make the neck and sell it to you. And they can make the body and sell it to you, but the body isn't, they don't need to license the bodies anymore because the body is public domain. Fender lost the body shape to the Strat and the Telly, so it's public domain. So you could buy a Telly body from, and this is the easiest way to think of this. You could buy a Telly body from Warmoth. Somebody's probably on Warmoth right now. And you could buy a Telly neck. I think a Telly neck, like a rosewood one or a maple one with some nice frets, $250, maybe $260 shipped. A body probably unfinished. Again, go something ash or something unfinished, or maybe just painted a color. I mean, it's totally conceivable. I would imagine you can build an entire Warmoth guitar, or get those two components, throw your tuning keys, couple pickups, under $1,000, you have a made in USA guitar. And the quality is the same type of machine, same everything that Fender's doing. It's the same product. But that's not what ever gets everybody excited. Sometimes what gets people excited is the Fender logo. I mean, there's a loyalty thing. There's a brand thing. There's a marketing thing. I don't buy a purple crackle finished guitar because it's because when I was a kid, like, there was rock stars that had that cool green pickups and this. I was like, oh, that's cool, right? You know, sometimes there's just stuff you want for a ton of reasons. But yeah, and Brian says, but zero resale value. Absolutely. That's exactly it. And that's part of it too. So like I said, it can be done, but there has to be more to it than just the cost point. But yeah, I mean, it can be done. I would say, and that's why I always recommend, for what it's worth, I like Godin guitars for that, for affordable. Kiesel's getting tough because Kiesel prices, they're coming up like everybody else. They're still very affordable comparatively. And I always say affordable, and then people snap. Obtainable, more obtainable than Sir and Tom Anderson. I mean, that's what they're really competing with. They're competing against the semi-custom, California shop guitars. So, but I think you can still buy a Kiesel in the, I think, acceptable price range. So I don't like, I think it's $1,500. I think if you have a $1,500 budget, you can still buy yourself a decently spec'd out Kiesel to some degree. Right? You can't get carried away. You got to stay pretty basic with it. So it can be done, but that's where I think the prices all land for that stuff. So, okay. Like, here's a fun fact for you. So again, I don't have this stuff approved. One of the partners in COVID, I don't know if I'm allowed to say right now. One of the partners in COVID, did I say? One of the partners in Badlands has COVID right now. So, I haven't talked to anybody, and of course I had my family emergency, so we haven't been talking for the last week. So it's been, so that's what I'm saying. I'm not really approved to talk about the behind the scenes stuff as much as I would normally ask ahead of time. Like, hey, I might talk about this on the show. Are you guys cool with this? What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I was gonna say I feel pretty confident telling you this. The biggest expense for the guitar company, because that's a question that people are gonna have questions. We'll eventually tell. We'll tell you everything. How much we made doing the Badlands, what was our profit margin, what did it cost us to do. All that stuff will be disclosed to some degree, to give you a sense of what what this project cost us in time, money, management. But one of the things that's probably interesting to know right now is what was our biggest expense? Our biggest expense? Lawyers. The lawyer was the single biggest expense that we put out in money, was the trademarks and the legal stuff. So sometimes you guys just look at something as face value. I get it, because you don't do this for a living, or you don't do this industry or whatever. And so that's why I thought, well, this would be great. We're YouTubers, some of us, and obviously, and we talk about gear and share things with you guys. And that's why sharing this experience is part of the business model of what we're doing. And one of the things I obviously don't have a problem telling you is that you look at it like, okay, alder body, maple neck, like you're adding up the cost that way. But I'm telling you, like, the legal expense was huge to make sure you had everything. Yeah. Brian said lawyers are proud of their time. Look, it's just the cost of business. You got to do stuff. So that was a huge expense up front. So if you want to do it right, and you want to make sure it's right, let's see. Now, here's an interesting question. So Manny Quinn doesn't have a question. He has a statement, but I'm going to turn it into a question. Okay, Manny? Because I know he said LOL out there. So we're all just talking, okay? Manny's comment was, guitar paint shouldn't exceed car paint jobs. Crackle finish or not, the Kiesel paint job was more on the quote he got than the repaint his BMW. Get GTF, as he means get the fetish out of here. Whatever. Okay, I'm just messing with you. Now, here's the interesting part. Here's the interesting part about that. Okay. I will tell you the single hardest thing to get your hands on, and I'm telling you guys, because again, there's 1,160 of us. On average, the show video will get 30,000 views on YouTube. I'm saying that because there's some reach, and this is a guitar community, so everybody watching this is a guitar player, so I'm putting this out there. If you paint guitars at the level of what you saw the Badlands painted at, or if you at the Kiesel, you should reach out to us, because let me tell you, I am very happy we found a very talented painter. And I've told you this before, the bottleneck of our business model is it's a painter, right? To find people that do these kind of paint jobs that want to work for nothing is impossible. It's impossible. And here's the problem, Manny. And I'm with you, man. I get it, right? The problem is not a car. You're looking at it wrong. I'll tell you, as you guys know, I'm friends with Brian, who owns Paint Huffer. Paint Huffer is probably the gold standard for flake finishes, out there. I mean, every paint shop I know that does custom paint finishes has Paint Huffer jars in their shops. So, and Brian and I, as you know, he painted my custom guitar. We're good friends. We did the charity stuff together. And so, I mean, it's not like I don't have like insight into that world of where I can ask people who know how to help me with this. One of the things that's funny about this is the question isn't why does it cost so much as a car to paint a guitar body? The question is, if you were a painter with that skill level, what would a guy with a really nice motorcycle pay you to paint his tank and motorcycle, right? So I remember, and a lot of you probably old enough to remember, I remember you could go everywhere. I remember I would go to just car shops. We would do it all the time as kids. We would go, kids being in our 20s, we would go and I would buy a guitar from Music Around for like $150, and I would take it down and pay like $80 to $150 to have them paint the guitar a custom color, and it was cool, right? Remember Earl Shives, I'll paint any car for $99.95, and they paint your guitar too. They didn't care. They would just paint it. The problem now is most shops that will paint that's worth a crap, they have other things they can paint for a lot of money. I met a guy who is really talented, and we talked to him about painting guitars. And what he told me blew my mind, because I thought, he's gonna give us a quote. He gave us a quote. It was high for painting custom guitars, right? This is before we landed with the shop and how we did the bedland and stuff. But the important part about this was, in his particular instance, I said, he gave me the quote, and I go, oh, that's a lot. And it was Mako. Yeah, that's right. I'm thinking Urshavs, Mako. So anyways, he said, he goes, I get $200 to $300 for a cup on Etsy. He paints the cups. He was buying aluminum cups, and he was just custom painting these cups. And he was making $200 per cup. That was his profit. And so I was looking at it going, yeah, I can see why sanding and painting and buffing a guitar out, you're not going to do that for $200 if you could just paint a cup. So paint jobs are expensive now, because like I said, the people who have skills are also, they have skills, so they know they can get more money than just a couple $100 for a paint job. So same thing with the Kiesel guys. They're a factory, and they have a factory type paint finish. But I can tell you this, because again, I don't have any reason not to tell you this. When I had this custom Kiesel crackle finish done, I had talked to 3 other guitar shops that I work with, guitar builders, to have something custom like this done. I didn't even occur to me to reach out to the Kiesel guys. I don't know why I wasn't thinking about it. I just had this idea that I told you guys when I did the review of this. I wanted a more, not an 80s guitar. So this is a hardtail, right? I like hardtails. I neck through. I just wanted something that had an 80s look but wasn't very 80s feeling. This is a 10-inch radius fretboard. Reached out to a couple shops, guitar companies that I know. They offered me artist pricing. Every single one of them, to get a guitar spec'd out kind of like this, were quoting me as artist. I'm not an artist, but you get the idea. They call it artist. We call it accommodation pricing. They were quoting me $4,000 and $5,000. I'm like, $5,000? That's the hookup price? And they're like, yeah. And we'll do it, and we'll get it out to you in like 6 months. I mean, we won't make you wait 2 years. Sometimes they were, I think the lowest one I got was maybe $3,800. So, and then I laughed, because I thought I was in the car. My wife was driving. I was in the passenger seat. I was texting one of the manufacturers back and forth. And then I go, I wonder what Kiesel would do. And then I just went on the Kiesel builder and built it. And the build price was lower than everybody was quoting me. So, all right. Jeff says, 5K, what? Yeah. I mean, it's because, like I said, price this stuff out. It's nuts. It's nuts. Okay. B Mad says, crackle finishes are not hard to do. I don't know you. It was BB Made. I don't know you, so I don't know what you know. Okay. I will tell you that I have suffered a lot of hell and pain with people who tell me things are easy, and then I get their results and they're not very great. You know, I constantly am told by people constantly that, you know, this is easy, I can do it. And then I get a sample from them and I'm like, yeah, this great. I mean, if I didn't have any standards, I'd be like, this is good. You did it. You achieved the thing. I mean, but when you want stuff and you want it to be right, you know, I mean, it's tough. You need somebody who can do it. And consistency. I always said this. I've said this before. I will say it again. Making one good guitar is not hard. Making a lot of good guitars is hard. Consistency is hard. As we all know, everybody here's bought guitars from all kinds of companies, and you know what it's like when you get those dead guitars. They all right. So let's see. So BB made said crackle finishes are chemistry, which we know that it's a chemical that they put on it or whatever. It's a spray tech finish that they get. You can buy it in cans, the rattle cans that do it. But again, you it's not just that. It's the clear coat afterwards. It's the buffing. It's all that stuff. I mean, it's a like I said. I think you'll never hear me say stuff is easy. Everything I do is very hard, and I think the people that do their stuff is very hard. I kind of find that stuff is not as easy as everybody thinks. Again, I don't know you, so you might know stuff I don't know. So there you go. All right, hold on. Let's go. Let's see if I'm missing. While that's happening, let's see if I'm missing any super chats. I'm just making sure because sometimes I miss them, and then I feel bad later. Okay. All right, James says, any experience with Mayones guitars? He's got a Duvel. Is it Duvel? I hope so. It's Duvel Elite recently, and it's the highest quality guitar I've ever touched in a while. It's even better than my Sir. Excuse me, guys. I love the Mayones guitars. I met them briefly twice. I met them once at the NAMM show when I did the how do you say, and then I said, how do you say it? And they said, Mayones. And I go, oh, okay, that's how you say it because it's in the video. And then I met them in Germany at one of the events, and they didn't know who I was. Again, I'm not saying that to be rude or mean. I'm just telling you what I got from it was I was in the room. I said hi to them. They said hi. And I'm not very good at like, hey, I'm a YouTuber and I have a channel with guitars, you know. But we were at this guitar YouTuber. That's what I'm saying. It's kind of funny. I was at an event with a bunch of YouTubers. They were there. It's like one of the sponsors. They didn't seem to know who I was. And then I tend to go, as outgoing as I probably seem on the show, I tend to go very, very introverted immediately because I do not know how to hype myself. It's not my skill set. So I tend to like, I've gotten better with you guys though, viewers. I had a couple of viewers get upset with me. It happens, because if you come up to me and you're like, I know you from somewhere, I am not very like, yeah, I do YouTube. You would know me. You know your gear. Like, I'm not like that. I'm more like, yeah, I don't know. And they go, and then, so one time a guy got mad at me because he said later, he emailed me and he goes, I just figured out who you were. Why didn't you just tell me who you were when we met you? And I was like, cause he's like, do I know you from work? And I'm like, probably. Like, I just didn't know how to be like, I'm Phil McKnight, man. You know? So at these events, what I'm basically saying was the Mayones guys didn't do anything. They just didn't, when we talked, they didn't seem to know who I was or what my channel was, and I didn't know how to hype my channel, so I didn't know how to talk to them about getting some guitars on the channel. So that's why they never got any guitars on the channel, I would assume. Or maybe they didn't like my channel. I could have read it totally wrong. Could have not liked what I did. I didn't get that vibe. I got the vibe that they didn't know who I was. I think Henning was there, and Henning said, "Hey, this is Phil McKnight," and they're like, "Oh, cool. Like, you're here too. Like, like, what do you do?" I'm here to move stuff around in the background. So, and then there's no way to buy them here for me. There's no shops that I've come across that have had one. I've never physically put my hands on one. So it would be just a blind purchase at this point. So maybe I'll do it one day. I've obviously, like I tell you guys all the time, if you want stuff on the channel that companies don't send out, just tell me like this over and over again. Tell me. I will eventually just buy the stuff and put it on the channel. I don't have a policy like if they don't work with me, we don't work with them. Nope. I will put anything on this channel that you guys ask for. I will find a way. It's, obviously that's what we do. We get it on the channel. Somebody says you need a manager. Yeah. Well, that's why I have someone who handles the companies now, because that was my problem. They were really, it's really weird experience. Like having a company reach out to you, is like kind of like if you guys like a job hunter, right? Like you work at a job and somebody calls you one day and says, "Hey, we really like what you do. You're like the best accountant we heard you're the best accountant everywhere." And I'm like, "Oh," and you're like, "Oh, cool." And they're like, and then you go, "Okay, well why don't I come over and start working for you?" And they're like, "I don't know." And you're like, "Well, why did you call me?" So that's what happens with me a lot of times with companies. They go, "Oh, I love your channel. I love what you do." And I'm like, "Cool, let's get some of your products on the channel." And they're like, "Nah." So I go, all right, screw that. You need an announcer. Yeah. I thought wearing this shirt, you'd think this would be like the billboard, right? I mean, in every damn video, you'd think you'd put it all together, but who knows? All right. And hey, if there's ever a weird world where Mayones sees this video, I will gladly review one of your guitars. Like I said, I just need to borrow it. I just need one to have for the channel. That'd be great. I know you're far, so back and forth shipping is expensive. Although what a lot of companies have learned is that sometimes I fall in love with this stuff and we can work out something where it's on the back end too. So that's kind of cool. So we'll see. All right. Richard says, "Phil, can you recommend a serviceable nut slot file set that doesn't cost $150 like Stu Mac? Thanks for all your help." Yeah, unfortunately, Music Nomad one's expensive. The Stu Mac ones are expensive. I think Philadelphia Luthery Mercantile. I think there's a couple of places that have some more reasonable ones. Nut files are like really weird because they're just really expensive for no reason. I can't figure it out. I've seen a ton of hacks on how to use them. Again, one of the problems is sometimes I've done a ton of videos on hacks, but I only like to do hacks that I've actually done. Not like I got the idea to make a video and then I just do it and here's the video and everything I've ever showed you as a hack is something I've physically done. And I feel confident that you're going to get a good result out of it because that's one of my concerns. I have hacks where I show you guys you can use a guitar string and sandpaper. You can use a gap gauge, believe it or not, and sandpaper. That'll work too as well. It's what I will tell you about nut files is this. If you're doing one job and you never think you're going to do it again, then I understand, right? So like I said, the gap gauge works pretty good because you can take the thickness of the string, put out enough gap gauges, wrap the sandpaper over the side or around it, like I showed you with the string, same concept, and then do it. However, one thing I will tell you is, though my nut files that I have are my original ones that I bought. I'm still using them this day. I've never replaced them. I've never needed to. So, and they last forever and ever and ever. So it's not cheap, but they're also not something you rebuy. There would be no reason I could see. You would have to be building physical guitars all the time. A lot of guitars. And if you were, you're making enough money to where it doesn't matter. Like that's, I guess, what I'm trying to say is I understand the initial investment, but I do want to also, as much as I want to love the idea and I really want deep down to show you like a trick, like here's how you do it. I also want to remind you that good tools are good investment. I mean, so they are. The Music Nomad ones are really good. The Stu Mac ones are really good. Most of the ones I've seen, I haven't seen any, otherwise I would have bought them. I didn't see anything on Amazon to try out. If you guys see cheap files, one thing I can tell you on a side note, besides a couple of the suggestions I gave for hacks, if you guys see cheap files, here's what I will definitely do for you. Definitely. No questions asked. If you guys send me at www.knowyourgearpodcast.com, right? You send me messages where you find cheap files, don't buy them. If anyone here is looking at cheap nut files or cheap luthery tools, definitely contact me. Just with the link what they are. I will buy them, make videos. Absolutely. I have no problem with that. Those are quick videos for me. They're easy to do. I don't care if I get any damn views. Just I will tell you if they work or not. I will tell you, I won't say the YouTuber because I don't want to. I saw a YouTuber show a video of using the pipe cleaners that they sell at Amazon. And they said, oh yeah, I use these. And I bought them, and notice I've never made a video. I could not get them to work. There is a video somewhere in my catalog where for a second I mentioned them and I said the same thing I'm telling you now. I couldn't get them to work for crap. I don't buy those damn things. I don't even believe, that's why I don't want to say the YouTuber's name. I don't even believe they ever got them to work. If they did, I don't know how. I mean, I put a lot of time and effort into those. Okay. I was, cause you know, I have an ego. Like I'm not, we're all flaws. Like it just drove me nuts. Right. And I wanted them to work because you can buy them for like $10. I was like, oh, I want this to work because, like, do your nut slots for $10 and it's great video title. And I'd be like, everybody be like, Phil, that's great, man. Thanks for hooking me up. But they were crap. Stay away from them. Don't buy them. If anyone says they work, I don't either know if they're lying or they just have horrible skills and they don't know what to look at when they're looking at quality assurance of their product that they're making. But I wouldn't do it. If you guys have done it and you had good, please then again, email me. Cause again, I would love to be able to be wrong because I would love to be able to, oh, and by the way, I bought 2 different kinds of pipe cleaners. Not pipe cleaners. What am I talking? They're the torch cleaners. You know what I'm talking about? You'll see them if you go on Amazon and type in nut files, they come up, these little things. And I guess they're for cleaning, torch heads, right? I think, welding heads. I'm sorry. I don't know what's wrong with me. Well, the welding, they're for cleaning welding irons or welding tools. I'm not a welder, so I don't know. Well, welding tools. But if you guys got them to work, if anyone got them to work legitly, send me messages. I will go try it again, or at least send me the link of what you got to work. But like I said, I good tools, man. There's few tools. I know they're overpriced. Look, I get it. I don't get all the prices for the nut files. They're all out of whack. But they will last. Tip cleaners. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's the welding tip cleaners. Stay away from them. Now I was thinking maybe when I got the first set, like there was different grades, like these weren't very, they were not very good. So I thought maybe, I had the wrong ones. So I got another set. So there you go. So yeah, so there you go. But like I said, there, we talked about that subject enough. I feel like we covered it. Greg says, what does Greg say? Greg says, stumbled upon an insane deal on an Origin 50 combo with a creamback last week. I've never owned a Marshall or Marshall style amp before, mostly Fendery, Voxish stuff. Any tips to come to mind? Well, that creamback is a great speaker. Love it. Really articulate, clean. I've told you guys for years, I've always liked greenbacks. I've always liked vintage 30s. Creambacks slowly just winning me over more and more. More and more and more. In fact, it's dominating all my cabinets. Just slowly I'm like, oh, creamback. Just something about the creamback. And even when I think I don't like the creamback as much as another speaker, I A/B them and then I come back and I go, that creamback, although there was something missing in the lows, because sometimes it's not as bassy as the vintage 30s. The V30s just have a lot of, heft to them in the sound. Hearing all your highs, crisp and clear is just a beautiful thing sometimes. And you're like, it's enough low end. I like having the clear too. So any tips to come to mind? Nope. You got a Marshall. Remember, Marshalls come from Fenders. They essentially have like a Fender vibe, but then they're more mid-present. They're not mid-scooped. They obviously have more gain for the most part. Nope. Enjoy. There's nothing you have to know. Just play and love it. Jennifer says, how do you judge whether you have a unique connection with a guitar other than build quality and looks? Oh yeah, it's a good question, Jennifer. So it's a 2-part question. Do you tend to buy guitars with the same nicks? Oh, okay. Let me separate these two questions because they're really good. So how do I judge whether a guitar, I have a unique connection? You know what's funny about that is I never seem to know I'm connecting with a guitar until it happens. Like there's no like my SG. When I think of guitars that really stand out to me, there are guitars, an SG, I always think of the SG as the perfect example of that's a guitar that I didn't want. I wasn't really particularly interested in the way it looks. I always thought it looked like cheap for what it is. Like, you know, they were like back in the day, you could get them for $1,000 all day long, you know, Gibson SG. And, you know, and a good Epiphone one for, you know, $250, $300. And I'd go, you know, it just seemed like a lot of money for what it was. It was like thin, the body was thin, there wasn't a whole lot of carves on the top, nothing going on. Just nothing about the guitar was sparking any interest in me. You know, it wasn't, you know, exotic looking. I don't know what it was. And so finally, for some stupid reason, thank God I did it. I bought an SG in the dumbest reason to buy anything, which is well, I don't have an SG. I bought a lot of dumb guitars from that logic of, you know, I don't have this, so I need it. I don't have a square neck resonator. Like, what? So I bought an SG because I don't have one. And I played it for 5-10 minutes or whatever, you know, and there it is. I have one now. I have it. And, but as always, I'm, you know, I kind of, if I don't have, I need everything to have value because money, you know, money is, you know, I didn't grow up with money. So when you buy nice things, you like, I need it to have a purpose. I can't just have money wasted. It drives me nuts. So I started playing it more. And then I would play it, I just never thought about it. I never thought that I liked it or that it sounded the way I liked or it played the way I want. And just slowly over time, I found myself playing it. So to answer your question, when do I judge a unique connection with guitar? What I've learned was the best way I've learned for me when to tell I like a guitar is I'm just playing it the most. It just dominates all the other time I would play with a guitar. And I've said this obviously on the show a lot, and because a lot of us are different. Look, I have guitars. I don't even want to talk about because I do YouTube videos and stuff for guitars. Just personally, me personally, I have guitars because I love guitars. This is what I love. It's all I talk about. It's all I do. Pretty single-minded. I don't have any other interest at all. I don't buy anything else. This is just what I love. And that being said, to this day, I would gladly tell you there's 3 or 4 guitars. Sometimes they say 2 or 3, but let's say 3 or 4 to be safe. I play them all the time. They're the ones I love, truly love. I play them. There's just something about them. They feel right. The SG is one. It's just this guitar that it feels great. Like I said, I've said this a lot. The Kiesel Delos, the copper Delos. I don't know what it is. You know, that guitar was that idea for that guitar was, I told you I had this copper Fender Strat that was custom shop when I bought it. It was expensive, but it's way crazy expensive now. And I thought, everybody was asking me about it. What if I did a Kiesel? Because you couldn't even get Fender to do the guitar that I have. And so I did this Kiesel on the idea that it would be for you guys. That's my approach to it was like, so I would use that and then that would be more obtainable than this crazy priced Fender custom shop copper Strat. Now I can honestly tell you I love the Delos more. It's just slowly just saying the same thing. I just found myself playing it. I would go to do a video. I'm like, I want to demo the amp and I want the amp to sound good because, you know, I'm doing a video of the amp. And I would grab the Delos. The same thing, I grabbed the SG. If you look at all the guitars I've played over the years on this channel, those two come up in the most videos, the SG and the Delos, by far. And that doesn't mean anything negative about any of the guitars behind me. They're all beautiful. They sound great. They play great. But there's just something like in that connection, what Jennifer's talking about. There's just something in the chemistry, the feel of it. And there are some guitars that I absolutely love and I can't get enough of until the day I wake up and I play one and I go, ugh. My S335 is like that. I'll play the 335 and I'll think it's the greatest guitar ever. And why do I need any other guitars? I can go for months with a guitar like that where I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll just play this. And then like as simple as that, just one day I plug in and I go, ugh, no, I don't know what it is. Why did I like this thing? and it goes in the wall. Now, the old me, the younger, dumber me, which dumber now, just was more dumber then, would get rid of stuff. And now I realize, like, just as fast as I fall out of love with it, I can fall back in love with it. The worst thing is when you fall back in love with a guitar late night on reverb that you already got rid of and you're buying it again. It's like trying to win your ex-girlfriend back. It's a really, 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 really hard thing. You're like, I know I dumped you, but I now decided I like you again. And then you have to pay more. This is for the guitar. So, you know, we move the analogy over to the guitars now. Okay. All right, let's button this up. We're at the 2-hour mark. I got no more super chats. Let me, I think I got all of them. I just want to make sure. Double check. I did. So if I missed a super chat, like I said, I will make sure I try to scoop it up next week, and I apologize, but I think I got them all. And let's do one last subject question on the main page. Oh, wait. She had a 2-part to that question. I didn't answer it. So let me do that. 2-part question, Jennifer. Do you tend to buy guitars with the same necks? Yes, absolutely. I have, not without a question, most of my necks are within the same realm of each other. There are some anomalies to that, and there's things I like about them. For instance, I have a couple guitars with thick necks, and I just like them. They're fun sometimes. I have those Strandberg, which has got a square neck, basically. It's really different and out there. It's kind of fun. But, thank you, Brian. I'll check. But the majority of my guitars, the necks are, generally speaking, medium-sized necks. I don't like super thin necks. I don't like super thin necks. I'm Goldilocks. I like the necks in the middle, like just somewhere in the sweet spot. And it's because, and so, you know, necks aren't even so much a personal preference for me. It's physical pain. Like if I have a neck that's too thick or too thin, I get pain right here. This is where it starts to happen and I think it's just because, like, the way, you know, I think it's muscle memory and is what it is. It's just you play a certain kind of neck, and then when you play a different neck, you know, now your hands get sore. And I'll get soreness here, not like tinnitus or tendonitis or anything like that, but it's just a soreness, and it will happen fast. It'll happen within, you know, 10 to 20 minutes of playing, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, maybe I don't like this neck. And it's happened with both super thin and super thick necks. And as I've told you guys before, it can actually happen in the position that a guitar forces me to play in. One of the guitars that I've had the worst experience was I bought a V once, and it really hurt my hand because the position I was holding the guitar in was just, that angle was just really not working for me. And so I still want a V, but for different reasons now. But I got to play the V standing up. Okay, so real quick, Brian says I missed a super chat for Richard. So let's see. Are you sure? Huh. Oh, there it is. Okay, sure. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Brian, for hooking me up, buddy. Richard, last one. Hey, Phil, can you recommend a serviceable... Oh, I did, Richards. That was the nut slots. Okay, we did it. And if I did miss it, well, like I said, we'll pick it up next week. All right. I think we're good. And if not, like I said, we'll figure it out next week. It's just there'll be 301 episodes. Oh, we didn't do tuner giveaways. All right, this is perfect. It's the end of the show. Let's do some tuner giveaways. All right, I got 3 Snark tuners. No one... You guys are pretty cool, man. You guys had free stuff. You didn't even remind me. I think you beat me over the head for it. Let's give away 3 Snark Air tuners today. This is just the beginning. We have hundred of these. Not hundreds, but 100 of these to give away. It's tuner time. The first person I'm going to pick is... First, we're going to do it a couple different ways. Let's do... this is going to be fun, I promise. Okay, hold on a second. Hold on, you guys are... Okay, I'm just doing a random thing right now. So it's just going to pull a random name. Okay, RRDEE. So it's RRDEE. You just randomly won a Snark Air tuner. These are $30, man. These are more expensive, but they're rechargeable and they come with a USB cable to charge them up. You just plug them in, charge up, and you can drop them now because I was dropping them to test. We were dropping them. So RRDE. Like I said, go to www.knowyourgearpodcast.com. Go to the contact us page and say, hey, I'm the person that won, and we'll make sure you get this out to you. You have to be in the United States. If you're not in the United States, still contact us. We'll see what we can work out. Okay. But like I said, the rule is we got to ship it. We're paying to ship it out of pocket. Snark supplied the tuners. We're paying the shipping. The shipping is almost as much as the tuner sometimes. So keep in mind, we're trying to keep it reasonable. The cool part is this, there's a winner that will not know until later. So I'm telling you, those watching now, is the next winner is whoever the subject that we did that ends up being the title of today's podcast. So it was the longest, usually it's the longest subject we talked about, or whatever you guys peaked the most at with the interest level. Whoever asked that question or subject, when you see the title of this video, make sure you contact us at www.knowyourgearpodcast.com and let us know that was you, or we'll know it's you, but you know what I mean? Just contact us with your information. If not, I'll remind you next week that you were the winner, so that we'll do that. And then, like I said, we'll still give away Snarks next week, but it won't be out of this stash. Next week will be a different stash. And then, what else? We need one more winner. Right. So Dave said rechargeable question mark. Yes, it doesn't use a 2032 little disc battery that you can buy at Walgreens. This literally, which is why the shipping is so expensive, because I guess we can't go through USPS to ship these because the lithium battery inside is permanently inside the unit, can't be removed. Yep, no batteries to change. You just comes with a USB cable that you plug into your computer. You plug in anything that's like five. Was it 5? I don't know what it is. Doesn't matter. 5 volts. I think it's a 5 volt charge. It may be 2 volt charge, but I think it's 5 volts. It doesn't matter. Anything will charge this thing. You just use the cable that comes with it. It's a standard style USB. It's not the USB-C. It's the USB, I think micro USB, I think. And that's it. And by the way, Dave, you just won because you just said rechargeable. So you know why? Because you allowed me to give the guys at Snark a little bit of a sales pitch. You know, since look, Steve at Dane Electro sent me these because he watches the channel and they watch the channel and they like us. And I talk about Snark a lot. So they sent these to me and said, hey, do you want to do a giveaway? But obviously they would like you guys to know that they made a new tuner that you can buy. I'm sure that's part of the appeal, but also I don't want to take away from them because believe it or not, they're that cool. They actually just want to support the channel. They like it. They've been supporting this channel for years with stuff like this. So Dave, you just won. It's Dave, no last name or nothing. Dave, please send me the message to www.knowyourgear.com. Those are podcast.com. These are the 3 Snarks. That's how we give them away. We will do them better organized next week, I promise. Like I said, this week was a little hell week for us, so we weren't even sure we were going to do giveaways. We wanted to do more, but like I said, we need to play catch up next week, and we can't spend the whole week just shipping. So I hope you guys understand. All right, on that note, I want to thank everybody for hanging out. As always, great Friday night, great show. At least it was fun for me. I hope it was fun for you. Until next week, till the next time, know your gear, and I'll find the screen, and I'll say goodbye, and then goodbye.